Before we begin, just a quick disclaimer. You might encounter strong language. Oops. We also want to be clear that the things we say are our opinions and in should no way be taken as medical health or dietary advice. We also are aware that we have certain privileged experiences and therefore we are not able to be representative. And we don't even aim to be representative of all the things that people have lived and felt that we have not. I'm fat, and there's something about rum and coke on ice that's just divine. So,
I'm fat, and I love wearing crop tops. So,
I've still got to get there. One day, I will get there.
I can't wait for you to wear a crop top, Ameya.
I'm gonna do it. Well, I suppose a sari blouse is a crop top, isn't it? Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm fat and I like looking at my body. So,
Snaps for that.
go on.
I'm fat, and I don't know how to count calories. Seriously, I don't. So,
Neither do
Me
I.
neither.
I don't know how people do it.
such terrible fatties on this call. Oh my
I have no
God.
idea how to track anything about what I eat.
Bad fatty.
Bad fatties over here. I'm fat and I love eating pizza. So, it's the best.
You know, there's this pizza place in Delhi that makes Neapolitan pizza, and it is to die for. But they don't really deliver, and those pizzas don't travel well either. And I went there to eat in person after like a year and a half last weekend. I almost cried.
Oh,
Might
is
have-
it beautiful?
Might have, just in my mouth a little bit.
Oh,
Just
too
like
much
just a
information.
small orgasm and like a single tear came down your face.
Yeah, just a mini-gasm. I'm fat, and I like to sprawl all over my queen-size bed.
Yes.
Wow. Well, on that note and with that visual,
Oh yeah.
welcome to Fatso, the podcast where we talk about the joys and sorrows of being fat women in India. Heavy on the joy. I'm Pallavi.
And I'm Ameya, and today we're talking to Stef. Stef, P, you want to tell everyone about Stef?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to read exactly what it says on her website because it's just too cute. Steph's introduction is photo taker, magic maker, like a Lizzo song but covered in glitter. Oh my God. She is here to capture us in all of our beautiful, brilliant, and wildly real truth. If being a hype woman was an Olympic sport, she'd take the gold. And she's asking of us whether we're ready to embrace our inner goddess. Oh my God, so ready.
Oh yeah. Did I not just say that about my bed?
Yes.
And
That's
I-
big
it's
goddess
just-
energy.
It's just me, 2 pillows, and my cuddly boy that I've
Mhm.
cuddled for 22 years. So that's it. But still, the whole bed is mine, baby. And when my mom comes to stay and she sleeps in my bed with me, it's like she's like shoving me half the night. She's like, get over on your side, scooch. Of course, if it's a boy, I'm like, it's fine, roll onto the floor, boy. This is my bed.
My boyfriend and I now live together and we have a king size bed, but he comes to sleep like later than I do
Yeah.
because I'm like 85 years old and I have a 9 o'clock bedtime. And I will sprawl out and take up that whole king size bed. And he's like, you gotta move over. I'm like, no, sleep on the floor.
Where you been? No, that's mean. That's mean.
I
But-
have about 10 pillows on my bed, so actually there's no space for boys.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was gonna say like P's bed understandably is full of pillows, but I'm like, even if it's not full of pillows, I'm just like, this is my bed, bitch. My
No.
bed.
We have like 10 pillows on our bed too. And I'm like, I need to build a fort around
Yeah! Yes!
pillows.
I like my little nest.
I like a nest. I make like a fort with multiple pillows and I just like
Exactly.
dig myself into it.
I hear you.
So I
Yeah.
don't know about the nest or the fort, but I did realize that if I have a little elevation under my knee, my painful knee, I can actually sleep in the position I'm used to sleeping in. Because I sleep in this
Ooh.
weird way where I'm like half on my front and half on my side. So like my
Mhm.
lower half is on the front and the upper half is on the side, and it's all like that with one knee up. And
One knee up.
basically, yeah, and the knee would get all the weight of my hips and my other leg and shoving it into the mattress, and it would hurt, and I wouldn't be able to sleep. And when I had a boy over, and I had my knee on him, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Ooh, this actually works." So then I
You,
started using a pillow instead.
you know what is so funny is that when I do photo shoots, there's a pose where I have my goddesses like lay on their side and I want them to pull their knee up. And so literally my direction is, okay, pull your knee up like if you were sleeping. And
Ah!
every single woman knows. Every single woman is like, oh, right. And just does it exactly. I'm like, I swear we all sleep the same way.
Must be. No,
I
not all
sleep
of
on
us.
my
No.
back.
No.
Oh,
I can't
good for
sleep on my
you.
back. I just can't. My back starts hurting after a point.
Yeah, but that's why I have an elevated,
Yeah, that's
like,
true. I mean, yeah, yeah. I don't have a custom designed nest.
We
It's
need to
something
like
I should
find
explore.
the perfect type of like bed setup for sleep. Like we should have a journey where we like find the exact right way to set up a bed with pillows and all the things
And
for
you
the
know,
perfect night of sleep.
I
yeah.
feel like, people who co-sleep with other people, I don't know, if you don't start doing it in your like early 20s, how do you do it? Because I know I'm very particular about room temperature, where the blankets are, whether they're over my head or below my head, and how much is sticking out or not, how soft or firm the mattress is, what kind of sheets they're on, how much room
Uh-huh.
I need. And then suddenly you put a whole other person with their shit in the mix. And then what happens? How do you figure that out? You know?
Um, yeah, it's been a very big adjustment period for us. I can tell you that. We could not do it if we didn't have a king size bed. Like we have a giant bed because I'm like, get off.
I know, that's so funny. Anyway, right. So back to the point, which
Oh,
is
right.
hi, Steph.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast. So, we met Steph and her podcast co-host Jules because they had us on the Babesment pod, which some of you
Mhm.
might remember as an episode that we shared, like that dropped in the middle when we were not putting out episodes. So it was like extra fun for you guys. Of course, it was extra fun for us too. And we basically did this call that just ended up being all four of us laughing hysterically and interrupting each other and going on and on and on. How long was it? 2 hours or something of recording? I don't know.
It was a long episode and like it was so much fun. We were like, oh, this is just like a giggle fest.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, we have to return the favor. And since Jules couldn't make it, at least we have Steph.
Yeah.
So, Steph,
Whee!
come on. This is the part where you tell us about your goddesses and yourself and anything you want to say.
Yeah. So, hi, I'm Steph. That's me. I am a photographer and a community builder and a body positive advocate. I live in Columbus, Ohio, in the US. And I just live for celebrating women and helping women celebrate themselves. So, goddess sessions are sort of what you might consider like boudoir photography, but we take the male gaze, super sexy characterness out of it. And it's really just for us, it's like to come feel seen and celebrated and safe and to like come home to your own body. So I do photo shoots called goddess sessions, which are really more than just a photo shoot. Like it's a whole experience. We do journaling prompts where you build your own affirmation. We do intention setting. And I have seen some of my clients work through some really big, beautiful things during their goddess session. It's just, I am so honored that I get to like help foster these moments for women. So yeah, goddess sessions. And then I also, I host a yearly retreat where we do like a weekend in Southern Ohio in the woods. It's really beautiful and women all come together and we bond. Everybody does like mini goddess sessions. We do a group sisterhood shoot, which pre-pandemic was a project I got to do a lot more, where we did group photo shoots. And my Camp Goddess retreat is just like bringing all of the hype and all of the glitter and all of the excitement of like a goddess session and spreading it out over a weekend, which is so much fun. And then recently this week, I just launched my Goddess Gang community, which I'm hosting on Mighty Network. So you can use it on an app on your phone and anybody anywhere in the world can join it. So the Goddess Gang community is like a monthly subscription. It's $11 a month, where you come and it's a place where everybody can share like things that we're going through. Like you can talk to each other and get support from people who like freaking get it. Sorry, can I curse on your podcast?
Have you not heard me?
I know. I was like, I've met you, so I just like,
Yeah.
I figured. So it's like people who fucking get it, right? And you can get support and share space. And I also do like monthly Zoom calls. We have like special sparkles. You get discounts. You get early access to stuff, and it already is just like so amazing. The group of people who have already joined are already just like diving into showing up for each other, and it is so cool. And like I'm still like really hyped about it and can't believe that like I was able to make this thing happen for women. But that's all the things that I do.
It sounds amazing. And I gotta say, we will obviously be linking to Stef's Instagram all over our Instagram and in the episode notes. You have got to go look at those pictures, because I gotta tell you, there is a part of me that's thinking, the next time I go see my sister, surely I can fly down to Columbus for like a day.
I mean, and we talked last time, like I need to come visit you in Delhi. Like it's just, it's a must.
Yes.
It's a must.
It'll happen. It'll happen when the world calms down a little bit.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah. Now, we are going to take you down the deep dark world of fat phobia and ask you how that was for you.
Oh, goodness. I mean, how much time do you have? Well, so my story, I have struggled with my body my whole life. I can remember like being 5 years old and learning how to suck my stomach in. And so when I was 9 years old, I had cancer. And so I went through treatment for that. Yeah, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma of the skin. I was very, very lucky in my diagnosis. And so I had 2 rounds of chemotherapy. Most kids who have lymphoma are in treatment for 2 years. I was only in treatment for like 4 months, which is incredibly lucky. But all of the medications they put you on steroids, you gain weight, and you don't think that it's normal when you have cancer to gain weight, but that's actually incredibly normal. And this was 1999. So I came out of that experience, and it was like, as soon as I was better, I was fat, and that wasn't okay. And I also am literally like working through all this in therapy currently at almost 32 years old. But, I was so afraid of being different. And I had this big, like, it felt like I was wearing a big sign on me that said that I was different. And then I was too big. And, so, I was put on several diets. I had to go to Weight Watchers in the 5th grade. I was 10 years old, which is the worst. And like, I never talked about it until I got older. So I didn't realize that so many children were taken to Weight Watchers. So many children were put on these diets, and it's so damaging. Yeah, probably like it's so damaging for us. And I know like my parents, my family had the best of intentions for me. My mother loves me in the biggest way, like more than maybe anybody's ever loved anyone. Like I know that. And it still hurt me. It still did damage to me. And so even though like I don't hold any anger at her at all, but it still hurt me. And it's still something I've had to work through. So fast forward to like middle school, like when I was 13 is when my eating disorder really kicked off. And I spent most of my life in an eating disorder, just sort of like weight cycling, going back and forth, because even when I would like stop eating and be really struggling, I was still in a bigger body. And especially it was the early 2000s. So like being, you know, like a size 7 was like horrific, so fat. I thought I was so fat. I'm like, I'm fat now and like I'm beautiful, but like I'm fat now. And I thought I was enormous at that time because all of the media around me, all of the people, the magazines, the everything told me that unless you could like see my hip bones popping out, I was a problem. And it was so dangerous and damaging to me. And I didn't realize growing up how it was affecting everyone around me. I thought I was the problem. I thought I was the problem and that I just wasn't trying hard enough to be thin. But I mean, that's, you know, it's so damaging how deeply these ideas get into us at such a young age. And
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, the things you say, like I think back when I remember my time in college, I remember being um so insecure of friends, of boys, of everything, and hiding my body as much as I could, and because I was so fat and so gross. And then I look at myself now and I'm like, God in heaven, woman, you're a size 12. That's perfectly normal. You know,
Yeah.
like you're a normal sized person. But the thing is, I couldn't, like, I came from South India where it doesn't get cold, up to college in Delhi where it gets very cold, and I had to buy pants. And I had to buy men's size 40 pants because they didn't stock anything up. I was 32,
Wow.
32 waist, which is insane.
Insane.
My mom couldn't fit into a 32 waist back in those days. So, yeah, it is unbelievable how much of this stuff is out there and how much of it goes into your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted
It's,
to say,
oh no, go ahead.
and I just wanted to say the thing that you said about cancer. Like, yeah, a friend of mine also has been was in chemo and stuff for the last 3 years, and she just ballooned. And I remember at one point between when she was she was in remission for like 2 months, and she was like, "Oh, you know, I wish God, I have to go shopping because none of my clothes fit, and I need to get better clothes, and I can't be in these clothes." And I was just like, okay. But yeah, and like towards the end, she didn't even want to meet me. She didn't refuse to meet me over the past year, the year before she died, because she was just like, no,
Hmm.
no. And I
That's
know why,
devastating.
because she just felt so like, yeah. So yeah, it is a weird thing.
It's so terrible that your body could like her body was literally fighting for her life, and in doing so got bigger to protect her. And like we see that as a moral failing in society.
Insane.
Horrible.
Insane. And like for me, I was a kid, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Like I was 9. And I mean, it just became such a thing where it's like I honestly felt like I didn't do being sick right because I got bigger instead of smaller. Like I didn't, you know, to come out of it. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, you're better now. So it's unacceptable that your body looks like this. And you also had this thing happen to you that makes you different. So like I mean, obviously, I mean, having an eating disorder is like a mental health, like a mental illness. And I struggled with that for a really long time. I always say, like, I'll always have an eating disorder brain. And I've seen as I've, you know, peeled back the layers of that and done the work and been in therapy and like really healed my relationship with my body. And my body has gotten bigger because that's actually what's healthy for me and what feels good to my body. Like I've seen where those eating disorder type thoughts and like the way that I applied fat phobia to myself with my eating, I've also applied fat phobia to so many other things in my life that I've had to unlearn. Like the way I showed up in relationships, the way that I thought about other people and how I would judge other people who are fat. And I'm like, I'm fat and I know that it's not good. I wrote this thing recently about how I'm not a good fat because I don't apologize for being fat. I don't order the smallest thing on the menu. I don't wear clothes that hide. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to shy away. I won't apologize for being fat. And that was my whole world, was like, I had to talk all the time about how I was dieting and how I was trying to lose weight and how I would work out all the time. Because unless I was as loud as possible to tell everybody that I was trying so hard not to be fat, it wasn't okay that I was fat. Like, that's the only acceptable way. And I'm like, why do we all think that we have to spend our entire life apologizing for who we are? It's fucked.
Yeah.
Because
I relate so well with all this, and it is fucked. And it's what you said, it's a waste of time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
and why? Because society is a dick. Sorry guys, it's my catchphrase. I gotta use it anytime I can. But it is, and what's amazing to me about this thing with the illness also is, the number of times in my life, and I will say honestly, as recently as 2020, I have had that feeling of, oh, what if I get COVID? But hey, maybe I'll be like really sick and I'll lose weight. Or,
Yes.
oh, yeah, maybe if I got jaundice, I could become thin. Like kind of wishing for like a terrible illness to happen to you, because then it'll erase the past and like give you a better starting point to become a good fatty, And
Yeah.
it's just like so messed up that we think these things about ourselves. Who would wish to be seriously ill? Like, why would you do that?
Right? Like, I remember being like, oh, if I like had to get jaw surgery and had to have my jaw wired shut, then I would lose a bunch of weight. Or like, the last time that I was severely in my eating disorder was maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I was living in New York and I got sick. I got the stomach flu and I was so sick, like throwing up, just like misery. And I dropped weight because obviously my body was like, get everything out of here. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to miss this opportunity, because I had lost weight. And so I started like working out like crazy and only eating like steamed broccoli, which is the most boring food in the world. And like being so controlling over every single thing I did. And my world just got so small. And it was kicked off by, I was like, oh, this is what I've been waiting for, to get sick and have my body fight something off, and to see that as like a win is so fucked. It's so fucked.
Wow. That's just
Yeah.
big hugs
To all of our past selves and occasionally our current selves, I feel. I don't know about you guys, but I do sometimes have a gut reaction that comes from that really bad place. And then I'm like, ho, 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 hold your horses. We don't do that no more in this house.
That is me all the time. Like when I say like I feel like I'll always have an eating disorder brain, it's that like I always say that my immediate reaction to something is my societal triggering, like that's not me. And then my secondary response, like my second thought, that's me. That's who I've learned that I want to be, and like my belief systems of like, because having that it's like a trigger, right? Like having that immediate reaction to something, just like, oh, maybe I could be smaller. Maybe things would be better. Like, oh, maybe I don't like that. Oh, I don't like how that sits, blah, 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 blah. And it's so normal to still have those thoughts. I think people think that when you become at peace with your body and when you overcome these like, bad, like fat phobic worlds, and you decide not to believe in them anymore, that you're never going to have those thoughts come back. And the truth is that it's work every day. It's me battling against my own like fat phobic goblins in my head, like trying to tell me that I'm not good enough. And I get to show up every day and like have that response to that first reaction. And that's where like the work happens, and where it can be really hard, but can also be like so joyous and so happy. Like when I think, I wish I could hug my younger self. Like when I think back to her and the way that she felt about herself, I'm just like, oh girl, like you have no idea what's waiting for you.
Mhm. I mean, that's the lovely thing, right? That at least the future is bright in that sense.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about trusting your instincts. Instincts are good, instincts are important, but some of our instincts are very, very trained, and very, very, like, they're not actually truly your instincts. They're completely overridden by training, and sometimes it helps to stop and think about the thought you just had. Anyway, so this is the back story. Tell us about the next part. Let's cut to the good part. Sorry, that I don't know how I have mixed feelings about that reel, but tell us about your journey, your path to getting better, to plugging into body positivity and fat liberation, to starting the goddess sessions. I mean, that's something I find fascinating.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, so my work started now probably like 5 years ago, um, with just trying to open my mind to different ideas. At the time, I was working for a major fashion brand, and I was a photographer there. And I would work with these models, right, who are paid for their perfect bodies, right? Like they are supposed to be the ultimate. And I'm meeting these people and realizing like they have just as many, if not more, insecurities that I do. And I'm like, and it was like something clicked in my brain, and I was like, oh, right. Like if they have the body that I thought would open all these doors for me and make me happy, and they still struggle with the same things I do, like it can't be a me problem. Like I was like, this is bigger. And so then I really just started like asking myself why all the time. Like, why do I feel this way? Why do I think that these things aren't allowed for me? And the truth is, like, I mean, we all think that this like smaller body is going to bring us belonging and love and worth, because that's what as people we're looking for. Um,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, Ameya, like we've been trained. It's all training that we've been taught to believe that if we are dedicated enough and we try hard enough, we'll get this smaller body and that will open all those doors. Um, and that's really just to keep us all hungry and distracted so we don't take over the world. But like that's beside the point. But yeah, so I had started working through this stuff, and throughout this same time was when I started my own photography business, um, which now is 4.5 years ago. So I started my own photography business, and I had always really loved taking portraits. I worked with other models like in Columbus, and they were wanting to do photos like in their underwear and stuff. And I've always felt like I never wanted to ask somebody to do something I had not done myself, because I want to be able to show up as a safe space for people. And I had at the same time been unpacking all of these old beliefs about myself. So I decided to take a photo of myself in my underwear. And it was in the room that would then later become my goddess studio at my first apartment. I have a new studio now. But I took a photo of myself. And it was the first time I had really ever seen myself, like truly seen myself. And it was so simple. I was standing there and I was just looking into the camera. And when I saw it, it was like something cracked open in my brain of like, oh, that's really me. And she's beautiful. Like, because there's a negative feedback loop we get when we take selfies and we're picking ourselves apart and we're changing how we angle ourselves and how we look in the camera because we're watching that happen. And it's a negative feedback loop. But when you take away the mirrored part of it and there's just a photo of you existing, you can actually see yourself. And I remember so vividly, like, I was like, I'm going to post this, and tears just streaming down my face. Like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to post this. I can't believe I'm going to post this. And I did. And just the tidal wave of love that I got from other people was so huge. And I was like, I want everyone to feel this way. I want everybody to know how it feels to truly see your own body, and more than that, to like see your own spirit, because we don't see ourselves when we're all lit up and laughing and being us. We catch reflections of ourselves in the mirror, in store windows, in, you know, these moments. And I know that I've spent so long picking myself apart in those moments. But I am lucky enough that when somebody gets in front of my camera now, like, we're having a conversation, I'm trying to make them laugh with my dumb jokes, and like, we're sort of just like setting yourself free. And then I get to catch that, like I catch that moment of you being you. And I'm never going to pose somebody to like hide their body. We're going to see your belly, we're going to see your rolls and your stretch marks and everything, and we're going to celebrate that. And it's just the coolest thing I've ever gotten to do in my life, is get to help other women, other people crack those pieces open inside their own hearts and their own minds, to be just more gentle with ourselves, to love ourselves, and to see ourselves for who we truly are. It's unlike anything else in this world. So yeah, so I took that first photo of myself in July of 2018, and that's what started it. That's what started Goddess Sessions, and it's grown into something so much bigger than I ever imagined it would be. And I'm so grateful. Like, I get to show up and make art that makes people feel good for a living, which is like, if you had told teenage me that I would be doing this, she would have called you batshit crazy. Like, it's so cool.
I think all our teenage me's would have been like, "You're doing what with your fat what now?"
Yeah.
You tell people you're fat?
You're not thin yet?
You're not trying to lose weight either?
You
Oh
don't
my
have a
God.
boyfriend? You don't have 4 children? What is wrong with you? These are all the things my teenage self would tell me at this point.
You're eating ice cream?
Oh, I love
No
ice cream.
way.
I swear. But I do want to say that your art is extremely uplifting, even if you're not the subject of the art. Just to let you know, it is really beautiful. I mean, there is something otherworldly about it, and you're so right. It's not just the fact that it is the gaze that's different, the gaze of, you know, not a conscious gaze, not the moments when you're not even aware of yourself, which is why, of course, the silly banter, right? And you know, that gaze itself is a transformation of yourself. You truly see yourself through other people's eyes. But I feel the way you set it, there is a very otherworldly quality to your images, and that itself is kind of like, it's enough to shake, at least I would imagine, it would be enough to shake older me out of younger me out of the instant rejection of my body. You know, because I remember there'd be a picture or something, and I'd be like, oh, I'd ask a friend, I'm like, oh God, but I look so fat. And they'd be like, no, you don't. You look exactly, you look beautiful. You look, and in my head, I'm thinking, wait, I look like this all the time? You know?
Yeah.
Wait, what? You know, so that is my first response to an image that is a candid shot of me, at least back in the day. Now I'm like, take my picture, bitches. But back in the day, like I used to take photographs in college, and I was like the portrait queen. I always had a camera stuck to my face. I mean, I have friends from college who get married and be like, you have to bring your camera to my wedding. There's a wedding photographer, but you have to bring your camera to my wedding, which of course I was happy to do. And people would always say, now you come, get in the picture. And I'm like, no, there's a reason I'm behind the camera, because
Oh yeah.
I don't have to be in it then, right? And it's just, I mean, we had this conversation in another context as well, but I wish I could go back and smack her and make her be in more pictures. But the larger point here is just that it was always a shock to see my body out of a frame that I had chosen, out of a pose that I had chosen, you know. And I think that the approach you take really would mitigate some of that shock, I would feel, for myself anyway.
No, I know that every time I see your pictures, I long to be one of the subjects. I'm like, oh my God. I want to be able to sit there and just look that vulnerable and that open and that free. And I want that to be captured. And I think that's what I see every time I see photographs that you've taken on the feed and stuff like that. So
I
it's
s-
really incredible.
I especially want to be that vulnerable, that open in that river with all those trees, just to be
Yeah.
specific. But
I know water sessions are like the best. So yeah, during the summer months, because it gets friggin' cold in Ohio, so we can only do it for
Yes.
3 months of the year. But yeah, I shoot out in the water, and oh, it is so magical. I've been really excited because I've been thinking about it, because obviously we're heading into spring, so this is now when I'm booking those sessions, and it's just so magical. Like, none of us is ever naked in nature, which seems so unreal,
So
because when you,
wrong.
like, humans were put on this earth to be naked in creeks.
Yes.
I won't believe anything else, because once you've done it, you're like, oh, I was always supposed to do this. Like, I was always supposed to be naked in a creek. And it is just the most freeing, liberating, vulnerable feeling. But it's like, it makes you feel alive. Like, it makes you feel like you're a human living a life and you're meant to be here, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
When
would
I
love to
was,
have both of you in front of my camera.
fingers crossed, anything is possible. Manifest, put it out
We're
there.
manifesting it. We're going to make it
Whee!
happen.
Yeah.
Pallavi, what have you done to me?
But
But
I,
when I was, this is one of the reasons why I've always wanted to live in Germany, because naturism is so big there. Like, it's very
Yeah.
natural to be naked in public, and it's like a protected right, and no one can get pissed off about it. But when I was in Spain on holiday once, in one small corner of one small deserted beach, I decided to
Mhm.
follow the example of the natives and take my top off. And it
Yes.
was the most exhilarating, terrifying, bizarre experience. Like, but I'll never forget it. I'll never ever. It was like 1 minute, but just 1 minute, and it was just like, oh, what? But it was like, I've always wanted to, like, feel like that again. It is something else.
It really is.
please,
It
can I
really
share a very weird story? So in
What else would you
2018,
share?
I went to Maldives. It was my first solo trip abroad for pleasure. For work, I'd gone many times, but this was my first, yeah. And I went snorkeling and then I went diving. But the swimsuit I was wearing was not equipped to deal with the pressure of water. And it was loose on top. So that's the problem I have because of my big belly. Everything I get is usually loose on top. So my boob would just keep popping out, and really just one of them, not both, just them would keep popping out. And initially I was embarrassed, but then I was like, fuck it, man. I mean, the scuba diver's gonna, the what do you call it? The instructor's gonna enjoy it, and I don't give a shit. So basically, I was doing all the snorkeling and diving with one boob popping out. It's such a bad experience. But then, eventually we'd come up to the surface and he'd say, ma'am, you might want to tuck that back in.
I'm sure he's seen it 1,000 times.
I'm sure.
Like, when I look at some of the bikinis that women wear when they go diving and stuff, I'm like, girlfriend. I mean,
But
It is not secure. There is no security in any swimsuit like that I wear. I went to the beach last summer and I was like constantly just like holding my boobs in because I was like splashing in the water. I was like, I'm here to play, man. I'm here to have fun. But I was like, my boobs are going to come out. This is a family beach. Like,
but yeah, all of you talking about being naked in nature is bringing up all of those images of me looking at the fish and the fish looking at me.
I mean, listen, you gave them a good show. I'm sure it was beautiful.
They're still on my Instagram page and they like all my photographs. So,
the fish.
No.
The fish.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I couldn't resist.
the fish. And that solitary turtle.
The one turtle.
The happy turtle, the lucky turtle. Okay, but I mean, you know what? Turtle is often us. Okay, let's not. When I go stay with my parents, there's a swimming pool in the neighborhood, right, quite close to their house. and in the summer I try to go swimming. And so I don't want to keep carrying stuff back and forth. So I have a swimsuit there, a swimsuit here. Makes my life easier. Except this time I went back and the pool was open after 2 years, and I go swimming, and the swimsuit there has all the elastic has gotten a bit stretchy. It always was a bit, plungy and a bit scandalous because that's how I like my boobs.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they live in this retired community, and all the other people swimming are these elderly ladies or these elderly retired military gentlemen. And one day, and I'm like getting in there with my freestyle, race to the end of the water, and then I come up for air, and I'm like, oh, hello, and I look up, and this uncle's like staring at me in horror, and I'm like, oh. I promptly exited the pool, and then I was like, I'm not going swimming. My mother's like, what? Why you need to go? I'm like, because my boob fell out, and one old man saw it, and he may have had a heart attack, and I may have killed somebody. She's like, nonsense, just put a rubber band in the back. And I'm like, ma, we're not dealing with the same quantity of materials here. Not gonna work.
I mean, listen, who among us has not had a boob pop out every once in a while?
I gotta say, I have plenty of friends who really haven't had this happen.
Yeah, it hadn't happened to me till 2018, 17, whenever that was. And never since either, but that was just a great experience.
So, but what are can you, if you can, tell us some of the stories of the sessions that you've done? Anything that stands out a lot, or super weird, super awesome, super transformative? Only if you can. I mean,
yeah. I mean, oh man, it's hard to even. I have seen some of the most incredible healing in my sessions. I like women. I mean, usually, my clients come, they're nervous because obviously this is something that's outside your comfort zone. Most of us have never been photographed, especially never been photographed nude or in our underwear, anything like that. And it's so incredible because there are so many experiences that I've seen of it's that first shot where you're still like a little bit nervous and like I'm taking your photo, and then I it's very important to me to like show you the back of the camera as we're doing your shoot. So you're seeing, I'm like, you're still sitting right there. You're still in the exact spot. You can't fight me on this. Like that's you right this minute. And I mean, just the beautiful breakthroughs that I've seen from clients. Like I've had my clients share so many things with me about, like lost pregnancies and lost loves and struggles with health and with mental health and with just the hardest things in life that we all face, that we all tend to blame on our bodies, and I am so honored to get to witness these things. Something really incredible was, so at my Camp Goddess retreat last year, as we're, the first night we're sitting down, everybody's sort of starting to share about themselves. All these women are strangers. I know some of them, not all of them. And we found out that two of the women there, two of my campers, both suffered from endometriosis. And one of them was a bit older, and she had been dealing with this for 20 years, had kids, all these things, and having kids can be really difficult when you have endo. And then the other woman was young, and she had just gotten her diagnosis within the last 2 years, and the two of them created this really beautiful bond. And we're able to one of them was so far in her journey and one of them was so like early on in it. And so the next morning we did our sisterhood shoot, and I took a photo of them. They asked if, because I was doing like smaller group ones where everybody was like paired off, and they asked if they could take a photo together. And so endometriosis, you tend to have a lot of surgeries and you get scars on your belly. And so we took a photo of them hugging with their bellies touching. And then I think one of them suggested it, but they both just started screaming into this field, like, because it's such a unfair fucking thing. And it was such a beautiful moment to capture, like, these two people at different points in this journey struggling with the same thing, who live these completely different lives and by chance came to this same space and were able to like hold each other. I mean, I could cry like now just thinking about it. It was such a special moment. Um and they've continued like staying in touch and supporting each other since then, which is super cool.
Sounds amazing. That's just a beautiful story. Thank you for that.
Beautiful. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's a very lucky thing for me to get to witness these things. But like, I see so many people face their own fears in my shoots. I have had women who will come to shoots and they're sure that they're not going to like even look at their bellies. They're not going to do anything. And they get so brave. And I mean, I've had like the amount of like whipping off your bra and swinging it around moments that it's incredible. And we all have that power inside of us already. I think that's the thing that we don't always realize, is that power, those moments, being able to be that woman who does that lives inside of us all the time. We just have to tap into it.
It's just about having a space where you can actually allow yourself to listen to that really, really repressed voice.
Yeah, absolutely. I had somebody tell me recently in a group that I'm in, she said that the negative self is a shout, but the true self is a whisper. And so I feel like that applies so much, like fat phobia, all of these things, the societal pressures, they're shouting at us inside all the time. And unless we really take the time and the effort to listen, we're not going to hear that whisper of truth that's saying, you're okay. You're on purpose. You're allowed, you know?
Yeah. And, one of the things that comes up in therapy a lot is with my therapist is sitting in your discomfort. That very often when you don't want to deal with stuff, you'll just keep distracting yourself. You'll be like, oh, let me binge watch TV show, let me go have drinks with my friends, let me go do this, let me do that, let me take on more work, anything, so I don't have to sit quietly in my discomfort. But the thing is, if you don't sit in your discomfort and let all the other voices, all the shouting voices finish shouting, you'll never hear the whispers. And that's something I've really learned the hard way.
It's so true. I feel like that's one of the best things I ever learned how to do, is to sit with my feelings. We spend so much time trying to push it away. And like, I had such a like wall up of needing to be okay, like not be weak, not be vulnerable, not be upset, always needing to be okay.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's so many of us. And once you're able to just stop and hear yourself and listen and spend time with yourself, it really does open up so much understanding of where you're coming from with your beliefs and what things you actually don't want to fucking believe in anymore. Like, I just hosted a workshop that was like finding your fuck that. And it was basically like my questions that I asked myself when I'm like, is this something I want to believe in? Is this something that works for me? And it's like asking myself, like, why? Like, why do I believe in these things? And, just sort of peeling back layers of getting to what's really true for me. And it takes time, and it's like one layer after another.
Yeah, man. And the stuff that gets layered onto you by society and by other people, it's like, it's also terrifying, because the thing is that on some level, you would know that this is not for you. You know that listening to these voices and following these rules is not your path. But the idea of breaking out of the mold, of doing something that's not in the box, is so terrifying that you don't even want to hear it. And it takes so long. to get there. And I mean, this is on every level, whether it's on like, stopping the power of fat phobia, or not being obsessed with certain kinds of careers, or certain kinds of partners, or certain kinds of relationships, or certain kinds of lives. It is unbelievable. And I sometimes think that strong women, we carry this weight much more, because it's like, you go from not being a woman, you try to be a man, right? You have to adopt all those manly traits of rationality, and not being emotional, and not needing anyone, and being independent. And it's like, if you can lift 100, I will lift 110, because I need to show you that even though I'm weaker than you and less than you, I'm as good as you are, if not better. But what happens is that you become so ingrained in this, it goes from self-reliance to sabotage, because you can no longer accept help, notice help, understand that you need help. And all of those things are so important to living a life that is, going to keep you stable and happy, and all of those things.
Yeah.
So it's really hard work to come to the place where you can sit in those uncomfortable feelings, and sit and, like, hold yourself there, and not like run away and prove that you're stronger than this. It won't get me down. I'll be even more productive. I'm like, that's not the point.
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like childish that I'm like, that's why I love glitter so much now. Like, that's why I use glitter in my photo shoots, and why I'm like, everything can be pink and sparkly, because there was this piece of me that for so long felt like I needed to push away
Yeah.
all of the girly things, right? Because I needed to be strong and tough, and I needed to be taken seriously. And you're not taken seriously if you're feminine, which is dumb as hell. Like, I'm allowed to be whoever I want to be. I'm allowed to love whatever I love, and still be taken seriously, and still be powerful, and still be strong. And having my feelings, and being vulnerable, and being honest about who I am is a strength, not a weakness. And
Amen.
it takes
Yeah.
work to get there.
And I'm the kind of person who cries whenever I get angry.
Me too. It's
And
so embarrassing.
Me too.
yeah, but that's the thing. We consider it embarrassing. I mean,
And it's
every
not.
performance review that went badly, I'd start crying, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, why are you crying?" And I'm like, "No, I'm just angry. I'm not really upset. I'm just really angry." And I would say what I had to say through my tears and everything. And I remember one such where there were two men, and they were so horrified they did give me the promotion. But, it was just, but it wasn't me. And a large part of me was quite embarrassed for a long time about that, because, in my head, I'd used my feminine wiles, which, was just a bad thing to do at work, because I was supposed to be professional and not emotional and all that jazz. And I mean, anyway, I shall not go into ranting about that.
We
We should.
haven't
Yeah.
had a we haven't had a good rant in a while. I mean, please, if you're so moved, don't stop yourself.
Yeah, no, I just did put the brakes on that one. But yeah, it's well, now it's like I really like to own my feminine self in conversations and at work, and be open to crying myself or letting other people cry. And
Yeah.
I have to say,
Yes.
it feels much better, and it works much better with other people. So,
And who said that showing emotion, which is a very human thing to do, who said that that's not professional, that that's unacceptable,
No,
that
no, it's the emotion. You see, if it's
yeah,
if it's a nice masculine emotion like rage and anger and breaking shit, that's extremely okay, because he's a man. He has to have his manly feelings, right? That's the thing. It's the other. It's vulnerability. That's a weakness. It's the whole idea uh of being emotional, of not competing. Like, this is a thing that I feel that's I hope we are moving towards in the world. But for so long we had no choice as women to other than to say, look, we can be like you and be as good as you. But that doesn't work. That's broken for everybody, because you don't
yeah.
need to be like you either. Nobody needs to be like anybody. We can all be
Mhm.
whatever we are. And Sometimes I really feel that when we release, stop competing, start collaborating. Stop being
Yes.
about individuals, start being about communities. And from on whatever level that is that you want to be in, start communicating instead of, just like, what's the word, broadcasting.
Yeah.
There's a difference. And whatever level you do that on, it's going to transform the way you interact with people and your entire experience of humanity in that sense. But well,
Yeah.
I think we have with World War III
Yeah.
going on right now. I mean, it's a long way off.
Before I ask the next question, I have to tell you there's this guy who's our video designer who does our videos, and we've
Mhm.
seen his work suffer the last 3 months, and he's been really good, consistent, etc. So we finally said, okay, enough is enough. He's not telling us what's happening, so we've got to go talk to him. And he then revealed to us that he's facing a heartbreak. He's going through his
Oh.
first breakup ever with a girlfriend who has been with him since school or college or something. We were like, oh my God, why didn't you tell us earlier? This is serious stuff. And he was so shocked because they were like, no, 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 I'm very embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody. And we're like,
Oh.
no, this is serious stuff. Of course you need
Yeah.
time off. Of course you need to heal from this.
Oh
And
my
he
gosh.
was towards the end of that whole period. But everybody, and when I told, and he says, please don't tell, the person who's heading the ship, etc.
Yeah.
Please don't tell him. It's so embarrassing and all. And of course, the first thing I did was tell him that, oh God, you know what's happened with this guy? It's that he's going through this. And his first reaction was, oh, poor thing. Is he all right now?
Yeah.
And a week or two after that was Valentine's Day. And I wrote to him and I said, hey, how are you holding up? Are you all right? And he writes back saying, yes, I'm fine. And thank you so much. But that's the way we're dealing with stuff now, at least where I'm working. And it's just so different. It's just really acknowledging the fact that we're vulnerable beings, we have emotions, and it's okay to express them at work. You don't come to work you don't drop that off at home when you have to come to
Yeah.
work.
It's
So,
so true. You don't leave your humanity at the door when you walk into work. Like I last fall my grandmother passed, and I had a couple of shoots and things coming up, and I was so nervous to ask people to reschedule. I was like, oh my God, like they've been waiting, they paid me, like I can't push them off. And then I was like, but I just can't show up as who they need right now. Like I want to, for me, show up with a certain energy for my clients because I am this safe space for them and I'm here to help them find their joy. And I was like, I just can't be that right now. And so I asked, and everybody was so gracious. They were like, of course we can reschedule. Like, we understand what that's like. Like, I think that we need to give each other so much more grace for just being people, like having humanity, having things happen to us, because it, like, it's the same as being physically sick, like having your heart broken, like loss, like even just living through the last 2 years of a
Oh yeah.
pandemic. And I mean, there's a war happening right now. Like, there is so much going on in the world. Like, it's okay if we aren't always okay.
That's the thing, though, because all these not being okay experiences are universal human experiences in the way that getting a promotion is not, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that we forget. And that's actually how you connect your humanity to other people's humanity. And that's really important. I was looking
Yeah.
away because the cats are staring at a ghost or something.
They're being haunted.
yeah. But Steph, we should ask you, do you have any questions for us?
Hmm.
Oh, what is bringing each of you joy right now?
Well, I have to say it's all of the work that I'm doing, whether it's with the podcast or the Life Book Leader sessions that I do, or I'm leading a business, setting it up, and things like that. The reason it's bringing me joy is because I've always wanted to work with people in a certain way, like putting the human back into the workplace.
Yeah.
And I have spent so many years in HR and then in business being ridiculed for my ideas, being told I'm radical, being told that the world doesn't work like this, that productivity and efficiency doesn't happen in those kinds of environments, and always believing that no, it has transparency and emotion and the ability to be yourself and being human with each other has to be the way. And I'm so blessed that I'm working with somebody who's putting in the money and he believes in those values. And we have an organization that we've literally built over the last 2 years. We were 4 people, we're now 26 people, and we literally live those values. We talk about being human, we talk about emotions, we don't talk about working, we talk about being able to balance work and life and all of those things. And we're thriving. And I don't think there's anybody whom I have to follow up with or ask for reports or, because everybody's just doing their best very organically. And I don't know as we grow larger whether we'll be able to keep this up. I really hope so. But today, I think that joy is just seeing this happen, just seeing that you can do your best work, you can increase sales, you can earn profits, you can do all of that while smiling and really enjoying your work. So I think that's what's giving me joy right now.
That is so joyous. I love that so much.
I mean, funnily enough, it's pretty similar for me too, because I started a new job in July and I am so in love with my workplace. It's a news portal. It's called Global Voices, and our whole deal is we do community news. So, as in, people in communities write about the news for those communities, and we focus exclusively on the global south. So, we don't cover the US and Western Europe and stuff like that. And it's full of amazing people. I mean, I never met these people in real life. It's been all Zoom all over the world since day one, and I get so excited for my Zooms. It's really quite funny. Like I have a friend, and I can blow off a call anytime I want. But like I'm like, no fucking way. When I was in the US, I was like 6:30 a.m. I will be there. And they're like, it's okay. You can skip the calls. I'm like, I'm not skipping the calls. I have to see you guys. So it is like that. And again, it's an organization that truly lives its values, because right now what happening with the war, we have several Eastern Europeans in our core team, in our and when this thing started, I was just kind of like, yes, okay, white people fighting, killing each other over white people issues again, whatever.
Yeah.
And frankly speaking, where we are in India, it is not a priority. I mean, it's a bit uncomfortable for us because we're getting a little squished by Russia and the US. But at the end of the day, we're okay, and it's not as immediate and traumatic as it is for people who are from the region.
Yeah.
And also, people from the region have done far more traumatic things to us. So it's this dichotomy that's there. And in this newsroom, my own boss, who's Eastern European, is like, yeah, of course, it sounds stupid to you. Yeah, of course you don't care about it. And in his grief and his worry and his work to save his friends and help them escape various countries at this point, it's not just Ukraine anymore.
Yeah.
He is sitting there and he's holding space and allowing me to make my point about you know Eurocentrism and racism and all of these things. And everybody who I work with is so invested in me. They keep telling me to do stuff, they keep wanting me to do stuff. And it's kind of like the first time in my life that I have, okay, not the first maybe, but at least in the last 7 8 years that I've worked somewhere that has seen me. I feel so seen. And anything I want to do, I'm like, I'll do that. They're like, okay. I'm like, oh, I'll translate this document from Spanish. They're like, okay. And I'm like, oh, I'll run this whole thing. They're like, okay. So it is utterly joyful, while also ironically extremely heartbreaking given the subject matter of what we do right now. But
Yeah.
it is deeply, it's very affirming. The whole community, where there's a whole community where we have a Lebanese person, sorry, a Syrian person lamenting the way people talk about refugees from Syria, and and then people like me or our African colleagues stepping in to say, yeah, we know how that feels. And the Ukrainian colleagues stepping in to say it is bullshit. They have no fucking right to do that. And then all the Russian colleagues saying, but Putin's an asshole. Like it's beautiful.
I love that so much. It's acknowledging that there is space to care about what is happening to innocent Ukrainian and innocent Russian people, and also acknowledge that the way that Black and brown people, when they are refugees, are treated very differently. And it's important to acknowledge like the vast different pieces of all of these things, and we're allowed to care about all of it.
Yeah, I'm here to call time. I'm here to call time on this party. Thank you so much, Stef.
Yeah, it's been just so amazing to speak to you again.
Thank you both so much for having me on. It has been so wonderful getting to speak to both of you again. You both like just bring me so much joy, and I love talking to you. This was super fun.
What are these conversations? Yeah.
I know they're the best, and we have to cut them short every time.
Yeah, and every one of them is just making me want to cry because there's such amazing people doing such amazing work in the world.
I know.
And why are there still fat people who are unhappy? Because I mean, imagine. I swear to God, I almost wanted to strip all my clothes off and just be like, I want this moment right now. Because the way she spoke about it, it just was, I could feel the power. I could feel the power of doing something like this, and it's blowing my mind.
It was amazing. I don't know what to say, because I always think that, I worry that we do end up running over the same ground in a lot of these conversations. But I realize that it doesn't matter, because every person is so different, and the way they experience it and what they make of those experiences is so different that you really end up going to a completely different place.
Yeah, and I think, you never know who listens to what piece and it clicks for them better than it's clicked for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever before, because the way everyone puts it is so different and what resonates with one. But yeah, I mean, actually, it doesn't matter somehow to me how many times we repeat the same thing. Because I think if that repetition would create a change, it's so worth
That's
it.
also there. I mean, it's been repeated. It's been repeated so many times. No, fat is ugly, fat is lazy, fat is useless. So now, if we keep repeating the opposite, maybe it'll also cut through.
Correcting them. It's what she said, right? It's that negative talk is so loud, and the positive talk is that silent whisper. And here we are saying it over and over again, so that the positive talk becomes louder.
But also, guys and girls and non-binary people. Sorry, I'm trying to be a little more inclusive in my language. So also people who are listening to us. It came to me as an idea, and I don't know if you want to do this or not, but I thought maybe it would be nice to suggest that if you feel like you're ready to take the step, perhaps you should put your camera somewhere and just take a picture of yourself that's not a selfie and that's not posed with your clothes on or off, whatever makes you happy. But just do the exercise and then look at the picture, because when I listened to Steph describe that, it really did feel like the kind of moment that could trigger like a really good shift.
And we've done that, haven't we? I mean, I think you've done it, but I definitely have done it. It was part of my self-work, where I would stand in front of the mirror and look at the part that I hated the most. And, under my belly, there's this, it's a little darker because my belly fold and the friction and everything. And I would raise it and keep looking at it and keep saying, I find you terribly ugly right now, but I really do want to get to know you, and I really do want to fall in love with you. And take the photographs and have that mirror conversation, and just absolutely right, Mia. I think it is an exercise everyone should do.
Yeah, I mean, again, it may not get to that stage of being able to have that conversation and focus on the parts and all right off, but just take the picture and look at the picture. Like, that's just a one-time thing, and see what it does to you. because I think that can be quite transformative. I have done this too, of course. That's also why I'm saying this. But yes. Okay. Too much rambling. That's it. Are you guys enjoying these extra long episodes? Okay, you can find us as always at Fatso Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Medium, and Substack. Substack is our newsletter, fatsopodcast.substack.com. We also have a website, which is www.fatsopodcast.com. That is FATSOPODCAST in all of those places. Our music was composed by Anand. Our logo was done by Yash. Our photos, the OG photos, were by Suraj. And sadly, the pandemic means we have not had any more OG photos. Sad face. And I, of course, will be your industrious editor slave on these extra long episodes. That's it, guys. Until next time.
Bye.